has it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, is that the one?
It is now 6 p.m., Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. I call this regular city council meeting to order. Let the record show that there is a quorum present. At this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Ramby if she could lead us in the word of prayer.
Lord God, we just come before you tonight, and we thank you that we live in a country where we can come and gather together. And Lord, I just lift up this meeting. I just pray for, Lord, your peace and just your kindness to flow, Lord, as things are discussed, as things are asked for. Lord, I pray for wisdom for our city leaders. Lord, bless them for their service and for what they give. Lord, for what they give beyond what we see here tonight. And Father, I just pray your healing for Uvalde. Lord, you're the healer, and our city needs your healing touch. So heal the hearts, Lord, of those that have lost. Lord, bind up the brokenhearted, because that's what you're so good at, Lord Jesus. And I pray your blessing on each person represented here tonight and their families. Lord, give them the desires of their heart, and pour out your love, your grace, and your kindness on this city and on our nation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next item on the agenda is the citizens' input. Citizens are requested to sign up prior to council meetings if requesting time to address council. Presentations will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Ms. Diana Carew.
Good evening, Diana Olvedo Carew. I wanted to come before the council this evening to first thank the city of Uvalde for all of the ways that you are helping this community with the parks and recreation efforts that are going on in the community. We've had a lot of park bills over the last couple of years, several more in the planning stages, and most recently our splash pad at the Jardín de los Héroes. And as I was noticing and seeing posts on social media regarding the splash pad specifically, I started to think about the fact that it's really wonderful when groups and donors and people come to the city and ask for partnership to do these kinds of things for the city. And I think sometimes as citizens of the community, we overlook and forget the fact that the city of Uvalde is taking on a responsibility for these parks and these amenities, which we really celebrate and are very happy about. Our community members will enjoy everything that's being built and done here in Uvalde. But I think it's important to remember that the city of Uvalde is taking on a burden, because those facilities, those parks, those grounds will have to be maintained. Somebody will have to be responsible for operating. I'm going to use the splash pad as an example. And so those are resources that the city of Uvalde has taken on behalf of its citizens. And I'm glad that you have, but I think it's important to remember there's that added burden, both manpower, financially, that the city has taken on. And I ask that the citizens of the community remember that. The city of Uvalde is a major partner in all of these efforts. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carew. Ms. Heidi Escamilla.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Dr. Heidi Escamilla, and I'm here representing the Uvalde County Democratic Party. I am respectfully requesting your approval for a permit that has already been submitted for an upcoming Easter egg hunt scheduled at Jardín de los Héroes Park on March 28th. This event is intended to be a family-friendly gathering for the children and families of Uvalde County. In that spirit, I would also like to respectfully request that the associated permit fee be waived, as this event is being organized as a community service and will be offered free of charge to all families. Also, I would like to request a modification to the original submitted time. We are asking to adjust the event hours to 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. to avoid any conflicts with other scheduled events and to better accommodate our community participation. We appreciate your consideration and support in helping us provide a positive experience for the families in our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla. Mr. Cardenas, I believe there's going to be some
Yes.
amendments to the,
Yes, as we go into consent agenda, Mayor, I'm going to ask that we pull 7C and 7D from the consent, and we address those under the new business or action items. So they, in essence, will become 8C and 8D, with your permission, so that we can address them at that time and allow for any kind of discussion should we need it.
yes, sir. Without objection, we'll go ahead and amend it, and we'll take on those two items under 8, new business. Item number 7, the consent agenda, number 6, a report from Ms. Caitlin Weisel.
Mayor, just a quick addition here is that in next week, we're going to see a lot of work being done around the Opera House. In fact, here shortly, you're going to see a lot of scaffolding go up along the east wall of that building to cover basically all of that sidewalk and all as well. And Caitlin is here to tell you exactly what we'll be doing and what will be taking place.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to be really fast because I know you'll have a lot to get through. But basically, the Opera House is fortunate to have donors who have funded some projects for us before. They funded the carpeting, they funded the painting. So they are continuing their support by funding our wood window restoration and repair. A lot of our windows are in bad shape from years of not being able to access them, basically. So what we've done is we've worked with Wood Window Makeover out of Tampa, Florida. The man's name is Steve Quillian. He was here in June of 2024 to repair the west side windows, and we accomplished that in 5 days. People came from California and Louisiana for that workshop. This week, we are currently doing Intro to Sash Making, which is why I brought my props. I'm taking the class, so I'll be able to make any replacement sashes we need for the Opera House. But these are the things that we've done in 2 days. And it's apparently about to get really, really crazy, so please pray for me and my fingers. So the current workshop we're doing is Intro to Sash Making. Next week, we'll be doing Total Window Makeover. These are the 2 foundational classes that Steve and his ethos kind of teaches of how to repair archetypal windows, which are windows from 1870 to 1940. So this outpost allows us as the city and the Historic Preservation Office to own the equipment. We call it a sash factory. And that is where you can mill a new window sash for your historic window hole in your house. Instead of replacing with vinyl and then going, or aluminum, and then having to go back and replace those in 10 years. So, like I said, this is just kind of an overview. Next week, we are offering a scholarship. I don't know if you saw this on Facebook, but we have a scholarship for someone to come and take the class for free, basically. And then that will certify them to use our equipment that will stay after Steve and his crew have gone. This week, we have students from Idaho, Louisiana, and Alabama, and then me from Texas. So that also ticks our boxes of historic preservation and tourism. They're all staying in hotels. The Louisiana, Alabama people are here for 2 weeks. They'll be here until the end of the whole thing. And then we'll have more classes available in November, as well as a weekend event between the 2 weeks. So that's the really, really fast and furious version. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me. Or if you'd like to stop by and kind of see what we're doing, feel free. We're there 8 to 5 every day. So unless you have any questions now, I'm going to turn it back over to y'all.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Weisel. Any questions for her? None? Moving on to the consent agenda. All consent agenda items are considered routine by city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a city council member requests an item be removed and considered separately. Item 7A under the consent agenda is consider the minutes of the March 10th, 2026 regular city council meeting. And item 7B, consider payments of bills over $5,000 from March 7th, 2026 through March 20th, 2026. Is any council member wish to pull either 7A or 7B from the minutes for further discussion?
Motion to approve items 7A and 7B.
I have a motion from Councilman King to approve the consent agenda as presented,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Santos. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Item 8 under the new business, consider ordinance approving application by various property owners of historic properties for tax exemptions for 2026.
Good evening. It's that time again. We've been doing this since 2016. That historic buildings that apply for this incentive are agreeing that we're going to come inspect them and see that they are being maintained. And then we offer a 25% discount on the building only, not on the land that it sits on. We had 34 applicants this year. Most of them are businesses in the downtown area because it is a National Register Historic District. So buildings that were deemed contributing properties by the National Park Service are the ones that are eligible for that. We also have 2 residences that are in other parts of town that have used this tax incentive. Altogether, for the city of Uvalde, we had 34 applicants. We're recommending 30 for this exemption, and that's about $8,080 less in taxes that we will get. But as you see in your packets that I've handed out, a lot of these businesses have spent a lot of their own dollars fixing those buildings up. So this may help them to fix a window or buy some paint or make some minor repairs. But it's sort of a reward for taking care of that historic building. The 4 that were not approved for this year are the Stein Building. They should be pulling a permit soon. They're supposed to be starting re-roofing. So it may be eligible next year if we see progress. And then the old pawn shop, which is has some issues. Particularly, we've had trouble with window glass falling out onto the sidewalk and that sort of thing. On page 26 are some pictures of the beauty school. That one will not be recommended. At the very back of it, there is a second-story window that has a brick arch that has failed, and it has been hanging precariously for a couple of years now. So if they will fix that and continue to make progress, then next year we will consider them. And then the last one is the Roberts store, which is on page 32, and that one has developed a really large crack from the parapet wall top all the way to the ground. That is a structural issue that needs to be addressed. So those 4 are the ones that were not recommended for approval. The rest of them have addressed things that we've brought to their attention. We send them a list of the things we found every year, and they are trying to keep up with those repairs that we identified.
Susan, on the agenda, I counted 31. I'm a little bit confused. You said
Oh,
34.
okay, maybe it was 35. I was counting really fast at this table, so if there's
I counted
31.
31.
Yes, so there are 31, then there were 35 that were received. There are 4 that will not be
Okay.
approved. I just miscounted a minute
Okay.
ago.
I was a little bit confused with the numbers.
What's the criteria for approval?
The approval is, this is a state statute that says that cities and counties can give an incentive to property owners for maintaining a historic structure. So if we see something that, you know, they have a broken window, and it's been that way for 3 years, and they've made no efforts to fix that window, then we're gonna not consider that. And, I mean, there are other things, but that's just an example. We wanna see that when we identify those things and send them a list, that they start addressing those items. There is a brochure that they all get. It also is in our ordinance that says specifically the things we're looking at. We're looking at windows, we're looking at stairwells, we're looking at doors, we're looking at stone and brickwork. One of them, the beauty school, in addition to that window, has a lot of failing brick on the front, and those things become structural issues. And if you don't address it, you start having more water enter the building, and so it becomes a bigger issue. So, you know, if we see they're making progress, I'll give you an example, the Coca-Cola building. We've given them a list every year, and every year that list gets shorter and shorter. They're actually addressing, I'm down to, I think it's just the gutter work that is something that needs to be addressed.
I know I have a bit of a connection to this Stein, but you mentioned that, a monetary connection to the Stein, but you mentioned that they're pulling permits soon, and I know that there's been a long delay because of the
Yes.
windows to meet the city's
Um,
requirements and the historical requirements for the windows. It's taken a long
There's
time.
more to that story. We've given them the incentive for 2 years in a row with no appreciable work because they were working with the Texas Historical Commission and the National Park Service. There is a much more substantial tax incentive from those 2 organizations when you are doing a remodel. So you have to jump through hoops to get that stuff in place so that you get the tax incentive. I believe it's 20% of the cost of your renovation from the federal government that you can take off of your income taxes, and it's 25% of the cost of the renovation off of state franchise tax. And the state franchise tax, if you don't need to use it, you can sell that tax credit. And so between those 2, you could get close to 45% of your cost of a project back. So that's been a big holdup, is them trying to get everything lined up correctly for that. We are a lot less strict than the National Park Service is, so it's not us holding that project up.
Question. Susan, I don't have a problem with this, other than just the general feeling that, if I understand this right, the building does not have to be appealing. It has to be sitting on land that's in an historic area.
Well, it has to be deemed historic or contributing to a historic district. So I'll give you an example. The Schwartz House up on North Getty that's right down from you, That one has been restored by the Mickey family. It's beautiful. They've done a wonderful job. That's the only one I've ever written on their form, their inspection form, excellent, because that paint job looks like it's brand new, and I know it's not.
Yeah, but
But that one is eligible because it is a recorded Texas Historic Landmark. Now, if they were letting it deteriorate and they had broken windows and peeling paint and the door wasn't closed, it was standing open, we wouldn't give them that. So the incentive is it has to already meet a historic criteria, and then it has to be maintained from then on. There is one building on there that is in the process of being modernized, and that's one that we probably will defer to the people at the State Historical Commission about whether it's been changed too much to be considered a historic structure. I argued for a lot of buildings in downtown Uvalde to get them listed because the architects are, like I said, much stricter than we would be. But it has to have some merit. I wish I had brought the criteria from the Department of Interior, but it's things like, just to put it simply, if the owner of this property from 75 years ago walked up, would they recognize that this is their building? There's enough of that building left that it looks like the historic building that it always was. Has it been, have they restored the windows? Have they kept the original windows? There are some buildings, I'll give you an example. The Doty building did not have the original windows when Chad Foster did a lovely job redoing that building. So he replaced them with something that looks similar to what would have been there. And the Kincaid Hotel, the same. Those are not the original windows, but they found a window that looked very similar. There are things like that it does have to have the look of the historic building.
I question that with some of these. I don't have a problem with it. I just think that there should be.
Some of them are not attractive, I'll say that, but do they look like they looked historically?
I don't think so, but I think more effort needs to be put in that direction. I really do.
Yes, yes.
We're rewarding these people for keeping the building from falling down.
Yes, and I will say, this is the first year we have not given it to any of the applicants. Any applicant has not received it. We've, tried to help people out with the tax incentive. We've tried to help people out. I have one downtown person that is in this list that somebody will walk by and say, did you see this thing has happened to that building? And I shoot them an email and it is fixed that week. So we try to stay in touch with people that way. Sometimes if it's, the public will report that there's a problem with something, so our code enforcement people go and look at it. And then we do have a facade grant through the Main Street program that's using our hotel motel tax. And we give out about $5,000 in matching funds for projects to fix up a building. I'm trying to think
Well, Susan,
where we've done one.
I didn't mean to
No,
tie everybody up so long.
no, that's
I
okay.
just-
I hear you, and that's,
You can go to an awful lot of small towns in Texas and go into their historic district.
Right.
And it looks like it's right out of the 1800s or
Right.
something. And it's very impressive and it draws people. We don't have that here, but we have the opportunity to have
we
that here.
do. And I would like to point out, there are some property owners that get that.
Right.
The Rexall used this tax credit that we're talking about the Stein using to do the redo of Rexall. The Schwartz building recently was redone, and it's spectacular. And that was all their money, didn't even ask for a facade grant, I don't believe. And then we also, Blinged Buck on North Getty is another one like that. So there are some that get it. I will say that we have one property owner that owns almost everything around the plaza, and they're sitting on it right now. So this will hopefully encourage them to move on that.
Okay, thank you, Vinnie.
I'm still confused on the Stein.
Okay.
I mean, you said they're making progress, they've unboarded windows, you've met with the architects, you've met with the owner, you've met planning on pulling permits, but you said not recommended for approval, yet we have buildings that downtown who've not even been, I don't think the owner's even seen it in 3 or 4 years.
And some of those are the ones that we are not, there are 3 of those that we are not recommending. The Stein Building has had, we've had this wait, and we have given them the incentive even though they unboarded the windows and then did not board them back up. So it is open for the pigeons and whatever. We have met with them. I will tell you, they didn't submit this year, but I said, would you please put in an application so I can go take the pictures so that next year, if, you know, I can show, yes, there was progress. Even if all it is a roof, that's progress, but I have to have a baseline to do that. So I will tell you, they weren't planning to submit. I asked them to submit so that we had a baseline.
It's kind of odd to read your notes and then it says not recommended. They're doing this.
Well,
they're planning on
I,
doing
I,
this.
I'll tell you, I was hoping that before I got up there or walked around to do the inspection, they would have pulled that roof permit and a roofer would be out there. And if I saw somebody working, I would have considered doing it. But there was no, that hasn't happened yet. I expect it to happen pretty soon, but it hasn't happened yet.
Susan, to your point in regards to those comments you just made, page 29 at 101 and 105 South Piper, it states here that the building has been changed significantly since last year, but isn't finished and doesn't have an active permit. So that means nobody's doing any work at it.
They have renewed their permit since I did the inspections. The inspections were done a couple of weeks ago. They have pulled a permit. That is the one that I'm sort of questioning. We'll have to see how it comes out. Are they gonna put the awning back on? Are they gonna do a plaster work that's similar to what it had originally?
Well, yeah, because zip board,
No, but
Yeah.
it's under construction. And there is another one, it's not apparent from the picture, but the Blinged Buck people have also bought the old Southwest uniforms. So that one has an active permit. They just bought it. They're starting to do some work. We went ahead and recommended them for this year. We'll see how far they get, and then we can reevaluate next year.
Susan, it says property owners apply annually. Is that, they apply to UCAT, or who do they apply?
There is a form that comes from the state that I have a issue with, but that's a whole nother long conversation.
Or who do they apply for?
They apply to us to submit to the appraisal district. Half the people mail it over there and then they send it back, because everybody knows that the way our ordinance is written and the way the county does theirs as well is that we inspect them. We have that written into our ordinance, that you're going to apply every year and we're gonna inspect the property, because we're not just gonna tell you one time, sure, we'll give you this tax incentive, and then you let the building fall down. So that's the process, is they are supposed to submit them to our office. About half of them end up over the appraisal district, and they email them to me as soon as they get them.
So we can assume the applications have been submitted for the ones that are listed here?
Yes, everybody that is listed here was submitted. They weren't all submitted by the January 31st deadline.
Is that the deadline?
There is a deadline, but because the appraisal district will accept them after that deadline, we've kind of been stuck in the middle on that. So we're gonna work to get that deadline a little tighter for this next year, so that they don't keep coming in at the last minute while we're trying to do inspections.
And it says recommendations are made to the council and county commissioners court.
Yes, so County Commissioners Court actually started doing this incentive before we did. When Olga Charles was the Main Street manager, I don't know how we saw it, somewhere we saw that the Historical Commission in Kenny County was gonna be on the county commissioner's agenda for their tax incentive. And you know, that's something that Main Street districts look at. How can we incentivize people restoring these buildings? So we drove out to Kenny County and we sat through their meeting. And what they do is pretty much what we're doing. And so at the time, I didn't work for the city. She was the Main Street manager. We were both in County Historical Commission, so we talked to Judge Mitchell about it. And we said, this is what Kenny County is doing, and we would like to propose that to the county commissioners. So they adopted it a few years before the city did. So, and there are more properties in the county that are eligible for this. We just haven't had any of them apply for, that are, like there's some in Sabinal or some in Utopia, but they just haven't applied yet. So I'm hoping, you know, as time goes by, they will apply as well. And then I'll have to work with the county for them to get those inspections done. Perhaps the emergency management coordinator, who is also in the County Historical Commission.
Are you the
could do
one
it.
that inspects all these buildings?
I have done it. Caitlin did them this year with me. My building inspectors have done it this year because this fell about the time that Mr. Latta was retiring. Caitlin and I did these. And like I said, we haven't had to go out in the county and do any. They're all within the city limits, so it falls into our job description as the Historic Preservation Office for the city.
Any more questions for Mrs. Anderson from council? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for item 8A.
Actually, Mayor, I think there's a public hearing.
Oh, there it is.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
It is now 6:31. We will open up a public hearing on this ordinance approval.
Diana Olvedo Carew. I've noticed this item on the agenda over the years, and I've never really thought very much about it. But then I noticed that it was also on the county commissioner's agenda, and I didn't realize, as Susan stated, that they've been doing this longer than the city of Uvalde has. And I looked at how much of an exemption they get, 25%. I mean, I think Susan said it's not a lot of money, but it's 25% of the building, which is considered the improvements under the appraisal office. And then the county also gives them 25%. So they're getting quite a bit of an exemption on their taxes. And so I started to think about the fact that we have a population of individuals that are on fixed incomes, our senior citizens, which comprise about 17% of the city of Uvalde's population. And I wonder, the city of Uvalde only offers its senior citizens $3,000 in exemptions. And you're offering a group of individuals 25% exemption. And so I looked up, you know, I looked into it, did a little research, and the city is able to give much more than what you're giving in exemptions to seniors if you chose to. There's some cities that give up to a 20% exemption to senior citizens. You can also do a tax ceiling freeze, where you freeze their taxes at a certain point, and their taxes for the city portion don't go up. And so, you know, all good and well that we want to have a beautiful downtown, but as Councilman Mims stated, that's not our city. We don't have those beautiful old historic preserved buildings, even though we're giving people 25% of an exemption to make them that way. And so, just as a citizen, I think I'd rather give 25 or 20% to our senior citizens who are struggling. I sit on the appraisal review board, and people come in and they cannot afford to pay their taxes. And they have no more income coming in because they can't work anymore. They're on Social Security. Most of them don't get pensions or retirement accounts or anything else. And so I'd like the city to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carew. Anybody else wish to speak? If not, it is now 6:35. We will close this public hearing.
Mayor, I have one item on the ordinance. Subsequent to its initial drafting, Ms. Anderson and I corresponded, and I have stricken Section 3 and Section 4 from the ordinance. These are, it's a penalty clause and a savings clause that's not necessary for this ordinance. And so I think the updated version did not get included in the packet. But it's just basically striking Section 3 and Section 4. The remainder of the ordinance is the same. And to be clear, Mayor, Section 3 provides for a penalty as though this were an ordinance that set up a penalty, and it does not. It's just, I think these were sort of boilerplate language that was in a form, and so I recommended to Ms. Anderson that we strike Section 3 and Section 4.
Counselor, should we wait and correct all that and bring it back to us, or can we proceed as is?
I think you can proceed as is. I do not think that, that you will have any difficulty proceeding as is. But it's really your discretion.
It's not gonna affect one way or the other, how we move forward with it by removing these two clauses?
Well, they're just not, they're not relevant. They don't pertain to what is being passed. I mean, originally, the city was passing these by resolution, and your code requires them to be by ordinance. And so this change would, I think, I mean, you can pass it with those. It's just unnecessary language. If you would like to pass it the way it is, it's not going to adversely, there's nothing to penalize. It's just unnecessary language.
Is this something we're gonna have to address to correct it, or are we gonna just do it for this one time?
Just this one time, I think is all. Next time you will see this in, I think, the proper form.
That's what I'm asking, Mr. Cousins, something I guess we have to address as far as.
Right.
removing it.
Once we remove these, we won't need them moving forward. So next year, a year from
It
now,
should be
Mayor,
corrected.
right, we will have to deal with these if we decide to strike them either now or at a subsequent meeting.
Any comment from council members on this ordinance change?
I support the ordinance as amended.
Okay.
Second. Was that a motion?
Well, he didn't ask for a motion.
No,
but
it's not a
I'm-
motion. I'm just asking some
Yeah.
feedback, if y'all okay with it. Mr. Mims says he has no issues with that issue.
That makes sense to,
Okay, I mean, it's just sitting there moot, I guess.
yeah.
Yes.
Any other comments from council or our council moving forward with consideration for ordinance approval? If not, I'll entertain a motion to move forward with item 8A.
I will move to approve the ordinance with sections 3 and 4 stricken.
I have a motion from Councilman Mims, seconded by Councilman King, to approve with the amendments as stated by our council. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 8B, consider approval to pay final payment for retainage in the amount of $8,339.09 to Alvin E. Stock Contractors, LLC, for work performed on the Regional Behavioral Crisis Center Sanitary Sewer Project. Mr.
Mayor,
Cousins?
yes, this is the last invoice we'll be seeing for our crisis center, and it is for the remaining retainage monies that we're holding in the amount of $8,339.09 payable to Elvin Stock Contractors, and it is staff's recommendation we make payments, sir. This should complete that project completely from us.
Thank you, Mr. Cousins. Any comments from council? I'll entertain a motion for 8B. I have a motion from Councilman Santos,
I'll second it.
seconded from Councilmember Medina to approve final payment. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under new business, we'll take up the matter of a request from Tomas Valle, American Legion Post 479, to waive the fees for the use of El Jardín de los Héroes Park and alcoholic beverages ordinance restricting the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages at the park for the annual Cinco de Mayo Festival to be held May 1st and 2nd, 2026, from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Mayor, this is an annual event that takes place at our Jardín de Héroes Park. American Legion typically and traditionally holds the festival out there. We've got Mr. Saucedo here in the audience if there's any questions, but they are asking, as in the past, for the waiver of the fees and for them to be allowed to sell alcoholic consumption. One thing that they do is they do provide security out there, so there will be police presence throughout those 2 days of the event, sir, and it would be staff's recommendation.
And I guess they've contacted TABC,
Yes, they got to go through the
We're-
motions and apply for a liquor or beer license in
and
this
that's been
case.
done. Mr. Saucedo?
I'm not sure that's completed, but that's one of the requirements that they have
Sure.
to provide.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and everyone in attendance. But yes, Mayor, it has to be approved from council first. I cannot go to TABC
Okay.
without the approval. Once the approval process does, and TABC is very strict, so I only have about 4 days to apply for the license before the event, and I have to have the approval with signatures, and it's got to be notarized before I can even start applying for that. So I always try to get it ahead of time, at least a month in advance. I have maps and other requirements that they require for us to do, so I get all that prepared, submit the
Okay.
packet, and then once the time comes, then we have our event.
Very good, thank you. Any questions from council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
I have a motion from Councilman Santos to approve the request from American Legion Post 479, seconded by Councilman King. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Another item under new business, consider requests from BARC to waive fees for the use of the Jardín de los Héroes Park Pavilion for their annual rabies drive to be held on April 11th, 2026, from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Mayor, just like the American Legion request, we have received a request from BARC. They will be having or proposing to have a vaccination they're also requesting for the use of a Jardín de los Héroes. This will be for the April 11th from 9 to 3. There was in your packet, there's a request from their Vice President, Heather Stunkel. She couldn't be here with us tonight, but we do have Judge Kimball here if there's any questions about this item, Mayor.
Judge, will it be alcohol available? Okay. You won't need security then.
I can't promise there won't be no, just kidding. No, I do want to talk a little bit about it because it is a change for you all. This is the annual rabies drive that Southwest Vet has always done. They do it here, they do it Sabinal, Campwood. And last year we partnered with them to do that rabies drive. This year they have pulled out and asked us to handle it all. In the past, well, last year we divided the proceeds. This year, 100% of the proceeds over what it costs us for the vaccines will go, in essence, back to the city. We're going to put it into, we established about 3 years ago, an animal control medical fund, so that when animals come in from the city, there's nothing with the city that has any funds for medical care, for vaccines, for flea and tick, for any kind of preventatives. And about 3 years ago, we established that fund and are constantly fundraising for it. And that is allocated only to city animals that are coming in for that. And so 100% of the proceeds that we get on this low-cost vaccine, not only does it give back to your community by reducing disease out there and allows people on a low-cost or fixed budget to more economically keep their animals up to date for an ordinance and for state law. You have to have the rabies. The other vaccines you don't have to have, but it sure helps keep disease away. Anyway, we do this on a low-cost basis, but now we're in a position to take those proceeds and apply it back to the animals that come into the shelter for their medical care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion for item on the new business to approve.
Motion to approve item 8D, I guess is what it is.
Yes, sir. Yeah. To approve request from BARC to waive the fees for the use of Jardín de los Héroes. Mr. King, Councilman King, did you make the motion?
Yes.
I have a motion from Councilman King to approve. Ms. Medina, you made the second? Seconded by Councilmember Medina. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, executive session. City Council will convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.071. Consult with the attorneys to discuss the City of Uvalde's information technology policy. Item 9B, convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.071. Consult with attorneys to discuss settlement of litigation or on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct to the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 related to the Robb Elementary School incident on May 24th, 2022. Item 9C, we will convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.072, dealing with real estate, and Texas Government Code Section 551.071, to consult with attorneys to discuss real property, the lease of water rights, and related contractual matters. Item 9D under the executive session, we will convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.072, dealing with real property, and the Texas Government Code Section 551.071 to consult with the attorneys to discuss real property, potential sale or lease of real property, a real property owner by the city, and related contractual matters. It is now 6:48. Council will convene into executive session.
I'm not even gonna take it. I just have my little stack here.
walk in and do this, go.
Right, I'm just like, oh.
Couldn't get a grip on it.
Thank you.
It is now 7:23 PM. In accordance with Texas Government Code Chapter 551, City Council has reconvened into regular session to consider action, if any, on matters discussed in executive session. There will be no action on any item discussed on executive session. No action taken. It is, no other items to discuss on this particular item, in this agenda. We stand adjourned.
Bye-bye.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then if you get it dirty or